Joining me now is Sarah Elliot, a spokesperson for Republican Overseas UK, and US political commentator Erich McElroy. Good to see you both. Thank you for joining me. Let's begin with Erich. Erich, I think many people will be absolutely shocked in this country by this landslide. Absolutely extraordinary victory. More than 50% of the vote. Nobody's ever achieved that before in Iowa. And they will be thinking, why? Why are these people voting for Donald Trump? What is it that they think that he has achieved before? And what is it that they hope he will achieve next?
It is incredible because, I mean, when you look at the things that he has done, the more than 50% support him. Now, the other side of it is he's basically running as an incumbent because he was president before. And 49% of the Republicans in Iowa didn't want him. So some people are looking at this like he should have won by a bigger margin in some ways. But if you look at his history, he's somebody who right now is sitting in court in New York, faced a defamation lawsuit where he's already been found guilty of defaming a woman that he was found to have sexually assaulted. So now they're just trying to figure out how much he's going to pay for that. His company's been found for fraud. He's going to be paying a fine between $200 and $300 million for that. He's been found to have engaged in insurrection by the Colorado Supreme Court, and as well as tried to overturn an election.
I'm not sure how good an answer that is to the question, why have they decided to vote for him? That makes it, every single word you've said makes it sound as if you're answering the question, why didn't they vote for him? Not why did they?
Well, because they believe him when he says that that is all a lie and you should only believe him and that he will be their retribution and that people exempt for coming into America to poison the blood of the United States.
Let me bring Sarah into this. Sarah, you know, are we looking at the same story here? Are you and Erich seeing the same thing happening in Iowa, or are you seeing something very different?
Well, I'm seeing actually a retribution against the Biden legacy, the Biden administration right now, where his approval ratings in some polling is at 33%. Only 33% of the country approve of Joe Biden. They remember the booming economy before COVID, and they also just want someone who exerts strength and resilience. Also, his supporters believe that this is a weaponization of the justice system against a political opponent. And so his, numbers just kept going up and up ever since the Mar-a-Lago raid. So this is more about reestablishing justice for many Republicans and also getting somebody in who gets things done and can take the country in a different direction.
And when you say it as if you don't believe it, but the people who voted for him do believe it. Do you believe it too?
Well, I'm representing the Republican Overseas Organization, and there are diverse views on Donald Trump. Listen, I defended his legacy many times over the years, and I think that he actually had some very good legislation. And in fact, there were no new wars under his leadership. Foreign policy was much stronger. The world was more at peace than it is now. And so I think there are some positive attributes to him being president. But, the country is divided. There's no doubt about that. And many Republicans would like an alternative to Trump. But it looks like he's just going to go from strength to strength from here. Now, Nicki Hailey, who came in third place today, may actually be able to gain some ground in New Hampshire because it's an open primary and there are more moderate independent thinkers there. And they tend to vote more moderately, like they voted for John McCain over George W. Bush in 2000. And that may carry her to her home state of South Carolina. And if she cannot win her home state of South Carolina, then she is done. DeSantis, I don't see a path to victory for him, the outstanding Florida governor. He put everything on Iowa, and losing basically all the counties in Iowa does not set him on a path to success going forward.
All right, let me ask Erich this. Where does all of this leave Joe Biden, and where does it leave his party?
I mean, he is down in the polls, and the biggest complaint that people have about him is that he's old. That's the biggest thing. But he does have a record of accomplishment. He finally passed an infrastructure bill that Trump promised every single day of his presidency and never passed. And where Joe is putting this is that democracy is on the ballot. When Sarah says that Trump didn't have a war under his administration, he led a war against the United States Constitution by driving his supporters towards an insurrection and trying to overturn the democratic process. So in that sense, that's where there was a war. So for Joe, people are going to start engaging now, and they're going to start paying attention now. It's been a Republican primary. They've been been stealing all the focus, sucking up all the oxygen. When people start looking at the choice that they have, the economy is improving, inflation is down, and especially on the issue of a woman's right to choose, which Donald Trump brags that he took away from American women.
Yeah, Sarah, how do you feel about that, bragging that he took away a woman's right to choose?
Well, you know what? I think that he basically just gave it back to the states, which I think where the issue should be solved. There's so many race, religions, and creeds in the United States, and this is a very divisive issue that I don't think 9 Supreme Court judges should be the one to decide it necessarily in a democracy. We need states to reflect the values of the people who live in them. And quite frankly, the Democratic Party is out of step with mainstream America, who would like to restrict abortion to European limits of about 15 weeks, whereas the Democrats, they're unlimited restricted abortions, even until birth. So they take a very extreme position. And I think the Republicans are in more lockstep on this than the Democrats.
All right, I'm going to thank you both very much indeed. We will certainly be watching that particular space. But I'm not quite sure of the emotions we're going to be watching it with, but my gosh, we're going to be watching it.